Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm going to be discussing what it takes to build a 7-figure real estate wholesaling team, and if it's the right time for you to start building a team. Because honestly, a lot of investors try to scale way too soon, or when they try to scale, they don't know who to bring on, and they end up wasting a lot of money bringing on incompetent people or people that don't really fit their needs at the time in order to get them more deals. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the benefits of building a team. Why are we going through all of this hassle, and what's the payoff here? So having great hires is going to allow you to make significantly more than you could ever do on your own. Now, great people who take ownership of tasks and do them way better than you ever could, this is the truest form of automation, not AI. There is a place for AI, I believe, in the real estate space, but not how the world thinks we could use AI. It's not in the sense where these virtual assistants are going to be replaced by machines. We're far from that, my friends. And what this also is going to allow you to do is free up your time to expand to other business endeavors or other real estate investing endeavors as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of us got into real estate wholesaling because we wanted to use it to fund other real estate opportunities. And this is really how you're able to do it, through automation by hiring great virtual assistants and virtual employees. So I'll use me as an example. I went from wholesaling and now I'm purchasing land in multiple states. And I'm able to do this because my operations manager not only helps me with my wholesaling company, she also helps me with my tech startups outside of real estate. And she also helps me with my land company. And it's just amazing having that person really be responsible for almost my whole professional life. It's a little bit vulnerable, but to be honest, I wouldn't be able to be where I am and make the type of income I'm making, and I'm very blessed and fortunate for that, without great team members. It's not all me. I have a great team behind me. I've had clients as well where I've placed operations managers in their companies, and they use their operations managers for their construction businesses. They've assisted them with tenant management and so many other businesses in and outside of real estate. And most importantly, these mundane tasks, I consider these like $5 an hour tasks, like formatting Excel spreadsheets, running comps, troubleshooting tools. All of these things can be done by somebody who loves to do them and will gladly do them to get paid. And they're usually virtual assistants who will do those tasks. Not really Americans, but really your foreign virtual assistants. Now, I briefly want to touch on the elephant in the room when it comes to AI. There's this false idea floating around that AI is going to replace all employees, all virtual assistants, and you could just have this solo real estate investing company that's making $100,000 a month while you're sitting on the beach and collecting checks. These are all lies and fantasies. And if you believe it, you're going to be left behind. Even if this could happen, we are just far away from this. Now, you could do about 1 to 2 deals a month consistently, but that's really the max. And why? Because if you're running the business solo, with AI tools and automation, then you're going to be having to monitor all these tech tools, and really the business is only running it while you're working in it. You need to have a highly technical skill set in order to set all of these AI automations up, and honestly, it's just going to take you away from talking to sellers. Most investors really excel at talking to homeowners and not doing all of this highly technical stuff. Trust me, I went down that rabbit hole several years ago. It wasn't when AI was around. It was before then, but I realized that there's really no way to automate my business other than having great team members and having the right team members on. And we don't need a lot of them, but we just need excellent team members in the perfect seats in our company in order to scale to $100K a month. A lot of investors, again, they're just not technical specialists. So they try to save money by setting up all these zaps and stuff, and they go down this rabbit hole and they have no deals to show for it. And that's really a shame when you spend all this money, you spend all this effort, and you feel like you're entitled to deals, when in actuality, you have did a lot of work in vain. Also, there are parts of the business that are extremely difficult to automate and can only be solved with people. AI in real estate works best for the initial lead filtering and the follow-up of drip campaigns. So text and email. I cannot see an AI agent touching base with a seller a year after they came in our pipeline and trying to renegotiate with them and build rapport and find out their pain point. Again, in theory, and a lot of this marketing that these gurus have out here, yeah, they're going to say their AI agent could do this and that. Don't believe the hype, my friends. Please don't. I'll be the first one to adopt automation whenever it's applicable and whenever it works. But right now, it's far from it. It's almost like a child compared to, using a virtual assistant is like using somebody with a PhD. So are you going to get a child to call your homeowners? Or are you going to have somebody who's at a PhD level with speaking with homeowners talk to your sellers, especially if your income is dependent on it? Now, if you're just starting off and you have a full-time job and you don't really need to leave that job, then yeah, sure, experiment with it. But when you're actually running a business and you're depending on your business to feed you and your family, we want to actually work with things that are proven and what works, not experimenting with our company and experimenting with our income. AI cannot do the following, and these are just a few examples. Lead generation in bulk, actually reaching out to cold leads. AI cannot go out there and reach out to cold leads. If it is doing that through an AI dialer, then this is illegal, and this is highly regulated right now. Knowing when to pull a new list and also market research. ChatGPT and AI tools can't do that. Now, it could give you general information about a market, but it can't look at your data and say, pull a new list here, or if you're trying to close 2 deals a month with this budget, go to these markets. Now, if it does give you that information, it most likely is just aggregating it from forums online. And I know a lot of forums, unless it's my information that I put out, that information when it comes to market research is quite ambiguous and dated. Also, ChatGPT and AI cannot save your deals from falling apart. I'm going to give you this scenario. Say you're in a situation where you were supposed to close a deal 2 weeks ago, yet some things happened and you had to delay the closing. You couldn't find a buyer, or the title company is just taking their sweet time with getting the information from the county. Now, you could be in a situation where you have to go back to the homeowner and negotiate with them and say, hey, I need to get in this house a 5th time, or it's going to take a little bit longer to close because of X, Y, and Z. Now, could an AI agent solve that problem and prevent the deal from falling apart? I'm going to depend on a human to do that. And to be honest, it has to be the right human. It's either going to be myself or one of my American acquisitions manager who's going to handle that situation. Now, let's go ahead and talk about when you should be thinking about building a team. Firstly, scaling is really about hiring foundational team members to take over entire departments for you. Not just hiring a random one-off virtual assistant to help you with admin tasks or marketing. Now, you need to have proven that you can close deals, ideally more than 10. It could be fewer than this, but really, guys, what we're looking for here is that you're competent. So if your virtual assistants get stuck, then you can help them navigate through that. You should not hire virtual assistants, even though they're great and they're sharp on their skills. You shouldn't be hiring people to address areas you don't know how to do. And I actually did that when I first started. So I didn't know how to cold call and I didn't know how to do lead management. So I just went off and hired a cold caller and lead manager and just told them to get to work. And I had no idea how to lead them. They didn't stick around for that long. If you're working in the business full time, or you're dedicating a significant amount of time to your business with plans to quit your 9-to-5 job, then you should really be thinking about scaling your company. Also, if you are experiencing this cycle where you're getting deals to the closing table, say you have 2 or 3 deals that close all in a month or 2, but then you go back and you're like ready to get more deals, but your marketing and business ops completely froze and you don't have any leads in your pipeline, nothing in follow-up, you could feel like you're back at square one and almost like you're starting from scratch. So if you experience this multiple times and you have been in this cycle, it is time to scale. Also, if you're just flat out tired doing these administrative tasks, it's time to scale and bring on team members. And this is probably the most important point here I'm going to make, is that you have got to have at least 3 months salary in reserve set aside. If you're in this situation where you're trying to close a deal and then fund your business or pay your rent, guys, you need to actually get that part of your company stabilized before you bring on team members, because that not only allows and brings on more stress in your life, it is also very irresponsible to your team members. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what it looks like getting to 100K a month. Before we get there, if you're at 1 to 2 deals a month and you've also closed more than 10 deals, then you are at the point where you're ready to scale to 50K a month. That should be your next goal. You may be saying, well, CC, I want to make 100K a month. My friends, there are actually things that you learn at this startup phase, as what I call it, that you need to learn first before you're able to bring on more team members, especially Americans. So this whole hierarchy I'm going to show you an organizational chart is just with virtual employees overseas. Imagine if you have never managed a team before and you want to bring on American employees and they're looking at you to solve problems. What if your employees are more competent than you? Do you think they're going to stick around long? No. So we want to start off with overseas virtual assistants, learn what we need to learn as far as delegating, leading a team, and then we can go ahead and scale to 100K a month. At the top of your organization is you as the owner, and right underneath you is your acquisitions manager. Now, your acquisitions manager is not only going to be responsible for contracting properties, he's also going to be doing management. So managing your texting specialists, managing your disposition specialists, as well as your administrative specialist, your technical support virtual assistant. All of these people can get you to 50K a month consistently. And the great thing is you start learning how to delegate and lean on the people that can do things better than you. So all of these team members should be able to address issues that you have in the company. So if you have an issue with your tools, then your administrative specialist is going to get on customer support with whatever dialer you're using, or texting tool, or your software, your CRM that you're having issues with, and they're going to sit on the call for 3-4 hours and sort that out. Again, we don't want to take away time from your acquisitions team or your disposition specialist or texting specialist, because those are really important business operations that need to be done every day in order for you to get deals consistently. So we need to have somebody on our staff who's just able to handle that. Your disposition specialist is going to be responsible for cold calling cash buyers so you can call the qualified ones and establish those relationships with them. Your dispo specialist is also going to be your virtual assistant who assists you with posting your deals when you get them under contract on Facebook, emailing cash buyers, and also pushing it to cash buyers everywhere, trying to get this deal sold. And your texting specialist, I encourage you all just to do texting. Notice I don't have any cold callers on here primarily, right? Your dispo specialist could double as a cold caller, but we are getting deals right now from texting. And I'm telling you guys, you can scale to 50K a month easily with this team right here if you have it set up right and you have the perfect people in these seats. Let's go ahead and talk about how you maximize each team member on your staff. So for us, we scaled back this year 80% of our team members because majority of the people that I had on board were cold callers. And by eliminating cold calling, we essentially eliminated 80% of our problems and headaches and overhead. It really wasn't producing anything. And now we're focusing more on cold texting, and we're focusing on a follow-up and really just hiring great people to negotiate and to get our deals to the closing table. Okay. So if you hire correctly, you can get 4 team members to cover all the bases you'll need to ensure you never have to step in and do administrative tasks. So many real estate investment companies actually hire people that are like them. I've seen so many owners that hire people that they like and that are like them. And guess what happens? This makes your company very one-sided, where it's not a 360 sort of like balanced company. You will have a lot of people that are like you. I know there was a client I worked with a few years back, and she had like 7 staff members, and they were working part-time, full-time. They were working odd shifts. I was like, why do you have so many people on staff? It didn't make any sense because they were all basically like her. They were all like introverted and very analytical people, a little bit like myself, but she didn't have any extroverted people cold calling. They all wanted to do computer work. They all just wanted to think. And I said, no, get rid of like half of your staff, actually over half of the staff we have hired. We kept 1 or 2 people, and then we hired an acquisitions person, somebody who was very extroverted and great on the phone. And then I think we hired a dispo manager as well for her. And then she was well on her way. Again, that was an adjustment because she kept on saying, well, I don't like this person. It's not about who you like. It's about who can get the job done. Of course, you don't want there to be friction among you and your team members. You want there to be some inherent compatibility there. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're hiring people that can get the job done. We're not in business to make friends. I could be friendly with my staff, but my staff, my virtual assistants aren't my friends, and they'll tell you that. So many of the tasks, especially when you're first starting off and you're building that first team, a lot of the tasks that they're doing don't require full-time attention. So especially if you have less than 300 leads, your lead manager or acquisitions manager, they're going to have most of their leads on follow-up, and they may be chasing 2 or 3 really hot leads, but they could be spending majority of their time doing other things. So when it comes to your dispositions manager, this is a good example. Your dispo manager could spend half their day qualifying cash buyers, and let's just say you need to bolster your leads, then you can actually have them cold call as well. So they could cold call buyers, and then they could cold call your seller list for half the day. That's perfectly normal. Now, it would be incorrect to have that that dispositions manager do follow-up or any technical troubleshooting. It's not in their skill set. So you can cross-train people on certain tasks and give them other tasks to do, but you want to make sure, one, it's not taken away from their primary job duty, right? And it's not a mission-critical role that you're taking them away from. And 2, you want to make sure it fits their skill set as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what my team looks like. And we're doing over $100,000 a month just wholesaling. So it's me, the owner, up top. And then right underneath me is my operations manager, who is a virtual assistant from the Philippines. And she manages an American acquisition supervisor as well as an American disposition supervisor. Now, this may seem a little bit backward to people because they may say, well, your operations manager should be American, but no. Filipinos are great at this role. And on top of that, too, we need somebody organized and introverted and who's able to keep the pulse on the business and deduplicate things and just make sure that all organizations in my company are communicating with each other. Underneath the acquisition supervisor is our acquisitions manager. So the difference between these two is that the acquisition supervisor is primarily responsible for final underwriting, reviewing comps, making sure the offers are accurate, teaching, training, managing, guiding the acquisitions team. And then underneath the acquisitions manager is our lead manager and follow-up specialist. Now, I will be going over in depth all of these roles in separate videos, so just keep a lookout on that, guys. But just so you know, this is the setup that we have now. And then underneath the operations manager is our cold caller. Now, I have one cold caller who dials very targeted lists. They're sniping people. They're not just doing a shotgun approach. They're sniping sellers. So I have one cold caller that helps me out with that. And then we also have our texting specialist who's going to be generating about 99% of our leads that turn into deals. And then the disposition supervisor is responsible for the disposition specialist, who also will be doubling as a cold caller. So the supervisor is actually responsible for getting these deals to the closing table. Between them and the operations manager, they both assist with transaction coordination, which is why I don't have a dedicated TC on here. Usually my ops manager handles transaction coordination with the assistance of the dispo supervisor. Now, some important points to remember, my friends, is that while the payoff is fun with scaling, it's not completely hands-off. So look at yourself like a coach of a football team, right? You're the coach. The coach is still very much involved in the organization. He's not the owner, right? So he's not sitting on his yacht just collecting a check and showing up to the games, but he's very hands-on with the team. And whenever you're starting off, even now in my company, I'm making over $100,000 a month. I am very hands-on, but just doing other parts of the business and not doing a lot of those $5 hour tasks. Now, you as the owner, you are responsible for leading your team, coaching, training, auditing them, as well as problem solving and really getting the deals to the table. So again, you are the coach and your team members are the players. They're responsible for executing the plays, essentially doing their jobs. Now, having a daily rhythm is super important to your company's success. So you should be constantly meeting with your team, at least daily, right? And doing weekly trainings at a minimum with your team. And you have to realize, while you are great at doing the business, while you're scaling, there's going to be some growing pains, which is why we do this in phases. You're going to have to master a completely new set of skills, like hiring, training, knowing when to fire, knowing when to delegate, and also holding your team accountable. Now, I want to hear from you. What has been your biggest struggle with using virtual assistants to scale your real estate wholesaling business? Has it been hiring, delegating, managing them, or something else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you need help scaling your real estate investment company to 7 figures a year, go ahead and send me an email to info@ccgarlandmarketing.com or a message on Facebook at facebook.com/GarlandCC, and I'll chat with you about the next steps. It was a pleasure, and I hope you guys took something positive away from this video, and I will see you in the next one. Until next time, take care.